Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Talk Junkies, where today's going to be a very interesting day, as it is each and every single week here at my house. It's been a while since I've done a podcast, so just life, all those good things happen. Sometimes you need a reset after doing podcasts for 6 straight years every Sunday, just to take a nice mental break of this crazy world, I guess you could say, that we live in, at least in the western side of things in the United States. It just seems to be getting crazier and crazier. And I think we've kind of been saying that on this podcast for the past 6 years, that was going to be the result of what's been transpiring. And there's no better person to bring on to go into not just that. You know, the person who's coming on the show today, we don't really get into the craziness aspect of the United States in general, but within the state that we live in Missouri. And there's a lot of things changing in Missouri right now. A lot of questions that I have to ask this gentleman, and I'm excited to talk with him. And no better person to bring on to talk about Missouri politics than Pat Holland. Pat, how you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing okay. Thank you for having me back, Paul. It's been a minute.
It has, man.
It has, and yes, you're right. Things are absolutely nuts out there. And we could go into any number of topics on the federal level to prove that things have just literally gone totally awry at this point. There's no cohesion. Things don't make sense anymore, and so that's where the states, in my opinion, need to step up. They absolutely need to step up, take their sovereignty back, and start doing good things for the citizens of their states inside their sovereign borders. And so I hope to talk a little bit about what we've accomplished here in Missouri here in the last, literally just this last year in 2025. In fact, we could start it out by saying, Paul, that last week on Thursday, I was in the governor's office in Missouri for the signing of HB 754, and amended to that was the Missouri Constitutional Money Act. That's why I was there. And so we have achieved something in Missouri that no other state has done before. The strength and the protections for gold and silver legal tender in Missouri now, that are now law, are the strongest in the nation. No state has what Missouri just received.
So,
And
real quick, so that's amazing. Okay, and we'll go into that. And just for those of you who don't know, Pat's with the Missouri Freedom Initiative.
Nuts and bolts.
Yep. Yeah, and gold and silver is now legal tender in Missouri. I believe it's August 28th or somewhere.
That's correct.
Yeah. Where and I think that when I was reading some posts online, you get the news articles that are here local, the Kansas City Star, whatever it is, local news stations, and you kind of get what their pushback is. And Pat, the only thing that I could see pushback from like the Democratic side or whatever it is, or the left, and some on the right too, I guess, is that they're scared that there's not going to be a way to for small businesses to accept gold and silver, physical gold and silver, if they were, like, that's the biggest pushback that I could see.
Yeah, and in fact, we dealt with that 3 long years of actually working up at the Capitol, our group, the Missouri Freedom Initiative. And gang, I know that, I do the interviews and everything for a lot of the stuff of the Missouri Freedom Initiative, but it is much bigger than me, just so you know this. We have 3,800 people on our email list, and they're in Missouri. So it's a fairly large group. So let me start by saying that. And that's something that we encountered quite a bit. And actually, there are ways to take care of it. And in fact, that's a very good question. If I were set up, I could show you a piece of equipment that can verify the purity of a gold or silver coin that costs $1,000. And then, of course, all you need is a digital scale to be able to weigh, the coin in question. So you can verify, basically for $1,000, if you had it at the register. But that's just for coins and bars. In Missouri, we got something very special. We got everything from physical silver and gold to electronic transfers of silver and gold, and that doesn't require verification. So that's probably the way most businesses will go. I think some businesses will probably say, yeah, we'll take physical, we'll take electronic, we'll take, any form of silver and gold that, basically is out there. And that may be the case, and I don't know that. So the education on this for businesses, local businesses, is key. And Missouri Freedom Initiative has partnered up with Citizens for Sound Money for a nationwide education campaign. But of course, the campaign is going to kind of start right here in Missouri because we have, let's just say, the best environment right now, going into August 28th, as you say, when actually the law is actually enacted for the very first time is August 28th. But we're kind of ground zero for the sound money movement at this point in time, simply because we have the most permissible laws for use of gold and silver. It trumps any state out there.
So when you say that, what makes Missouri so special? What makes it the best gold and silver state in all 50 states?
You bet. Okay, thank you for that. Nice little segue there.
Yeah.
Okay, lots of states have, basically gold and silver as legal tender. Arkansas has it. Oklahoma has it. Utah has it. I mean, we can keep going down the list. What Missouri did is we made physical gold and silver as well as electronic transfers of gold and silver to be treated as legal tender. So not only that, this is where it gets really interesting. The government itself will accept electronic versions of gold and silver for payment of taxes, as long as it's convertible into dollars. So we are the very first state where the government acquiesced and said, yeah, we'll take gold and silver for payment of taxes if people offer it. But it has to be an electronic form for the government. They don't want to mess with the physical stuff. And by the way, I was in that meeting in the DOR last year, Department of Revenue, and we discussed with them all the ways the state of Missouri could take gold and silver, because they were very apprehensive about this bill last year. And so there was almost a 3-hour meeting. And in that meeting, of course, was Daniel Diaz with Citizens for Sound Money, myself, Senator Eigel was in that meeting. Representative Hardwick was in that meeting. Other people were in that meeting as well, because and also a phone call was made to Sound Money Defense League, and that's JP Cortez, who actually helped us on the phone to actually get some numbers for the DOR in Missouri, because Missouri doesn't separate capital gains from silver and gold from any other capital gains. And we had to come up with a number for capital gains for Missouri, and Missouri couldn't give us the number because they lump it all in together with stock capital gains and real estate capital gains and gold and silver capital gains and pork belly, so they lump it all together. So JP Cortez, I guess what I'm saying is a lot of people helped with this effort. A lot of people helped. Okay, getting back to the main point of your question. So not only will the government take electronic gold and silver for the payment of taxes, like I said, as long as it's convertible into dollars, but also too, we got some very special stuff done in our bill that no other state has even tried to do before. And anti-commandeering doctrine is one of them. This is really cool stuff, gang. We have anti-seizure laws in the state of Missouri. If the federal government ever decides to confiscate gold or silver, gold was confiscated in 1933 by FDR. Totally illegal, unconstitutional, but made gold illegal. And then basically said everyone had like a 3-month period to take all their gold into the bank and convert it into a $20 bill and walk home. And as soon as everyone did that, the dollar was devalued and gold went up to $35 an ounce. That's the kind of shenanigans our government's capable of doing. We have anti-confiscation language in our bill to prevent that from happening. So what it means exactly is if the government wants to confiscate gold or silver, the state of Missouri will not help them do it. And in fact, if anyone associated with the state of Missouri helps the Federal Reserve confiscate gold or silver in the state of Missouri, they will be sued. It's against the law here in the state of Missouri to help the federal government do that. Now, Missouri can't confiscate either, according to our bill. So the state of Missouri and subdivisions of the government cannot confiscate either. However, you can take someone's silver and gold after due process. So, Paul, what that means is there is no civil asset forfeiture on silver and gold in the state of Missouri. No other state has ever achieved this level of freedom with silver and gold. What that means is we are a safe haven for bullion banks, for vaults, for depositories in the state of Missouri. We're a safe haven. Everyone should be coming here and storing their silver and gold because they won't be able to confiscate it. So that's something else we've done that no other state has achieved. I can keep going down the list if you like. Another option is, or another thing we got with our law was the ability for employers to pay their employees in gold or silver, either in part or in full of their compensation, if both parties are agreeable. So that's something else no other state has achieved before. And also, one more thing we got that no other state has ever achieved before, so far as I know: gold and silver contracts. Now, in and of itself, that sounds, somewhat, pedantic, to say, okay, yeah, you guys can do silver and gold contracts for anything you like. But what it really means, Paul, what it really means is that the courts now have to recognize gold and silver as legal tender in the state of Missouri. The courts recognize it as money now, just like the dollar. And what that means is if a silver or gold contract goes into a courtroom, the court cannot convert that contract into dollars. It has to stay in silver and gold. So they have to recognize it as silver and gold. And then one really cool thing with that is it kind of gets us a little bit closer to our roots and what we used to refer to as common law in our courts. So at any rate, these are the things that we just got done in Missouri, which no other state has ever done before. And believe me, if you go on the internet right now and start looking at the silver and gold channels, everyone's talking about what Missouri just accomplished last week. Very, very, very happy about what happened. I know a lot of people are giving me an enormous amount of credit for this, but I got to tell you, there was a lot of people involved. There were so many gears and cogs in this machine to make it turn.
Well, the
I would be
Freedom
insane to take credit. Go ahead.
No, the Missouri Freedom Initiative, it's always been that way. You guys are the things that you guys have accomplished in the state of Missouri. Again, this is just another win in your all's book, and a win for Missourians, because again, you're making us the most freest the most freest state in all 50 states. And
That's the goal.
to be, a small slither of that, having you on the show and helping spread the message, it's it just feels really good, man. So I guess kind of what I'm trying to wrap my brain around is I'm trying to more or less see a vision, right? I understand the idea, and I'm very excited for silver and gold in Missouri and the things that you guys have accomplished. But I guess a question for me would be, like, in 10 years, what do you see Missouri being like because this has been passed?
Okay, you're a brilliant interrogator here, because actually that's where we needed to go with this. It's not just 10 years from now, it's 1 year from now. Now, I mentioned a little bit earlier that we're going to start training people. There's an education program. We're going to have a workshop on the Missouri Freedom Initiative socials on Saturday night at 7:30 for those who are interested. So just look for the Missouri Freedom Initiative on YouTube, on Rumble, on Twitter. We broadcast to all of our socials. And we will have on Dennis from Kinesis talking about Kinesis is a bullion bank, but it's also a bullion exchange. And we're going to talk about ATM cards and how we use those for transferring gold and silver, and that the fact that it's convertible right into dollars. We're going to talk about that. How do things look in 1 year? This is the important thing, Paul. The whole reason to do this in the first place is, number one, inflation. Inflation is real, and everyone's feeling it. But the other thing is, we always have had this continuing threat of a central bank digital currency, that's Executive Order 14067, that Trump did not rescind. And that came from Biden. Trump did not shut down that executive order from Biden to create a central bank digital currency. So I think we're still going forward in that direction. And with this gold and silver bill, we now have another way to transact for those who would like to avoid a central bank digital currency or have anything to do with social credit scoring. I don't want to get into the social credit scoring aspect of things, but I have a lot of data on this. And it's coming, folks, and it's coming in ways you don't even understand. And so that's what Real ID is all about. That has to do with social credit scoring. I opted out of that, so technically it would be very difficult for me to fly right now, so I need to get a passport because I refuse to do the Real ID. And congratulations to anyone else who refused the Real ID because clearly they understand what it meant and what it's going to do. Now, it wasn't originally envisioned to be for social credit scoring, but it is. So basically, when a central bank digital currency comes out, the nexus of this is your real ID. Your digital wallet will be associated with your real ID, your national ID. And my understanding is once you go into the national or the real ID pool, you can't get back out again. It's kind of like getting on the no-fly list. It's so difficult to get out. Years and years of paperwork and work to get out for just signing on the dotted line one time and not even thinking about it when you had to renew your driver's license. Silver and gold will provide another way to transact if you don't want to be in that system. That's why we have the laws we have here in Missouri. We really need vaulting services to move into Missouri and take advantage of this freedom that they have to transact and to store precious metals without fear of government confiscation of precious metals. This is what the future looks like. The future looks like, in the beginning, very few people will be transacting in silver and gold. As the dollar continues to depreciate, more and more people will see that silver and gold is going up in value while the dollar is going down. They're not going to want to continue to hold dollars for savings or for retirement anymore. They'll start switching their preference from dollar-based assets to precious metal-based assets to literally protect their retirements. States are already looking at doing this. States are getting depositories like crazy. Silver and gold depositories. We did not achieve that here in Missouri. We don't have a depository and we don't have language for it in our law. But we do have enormous protections for private businesses that run depositories, that run vaults, silver and gold depositories, vaults, and banks. We have enormous protections for them that no other state really truly affords at this time. Other states will do it next year because, like I said, this is being lauded as model legislation, even by the ALEC community. This is a big deal, gang, what Missouri just achieved. This is not a small thing. This is a big deal, and it's now a model for the nation to literally protect silver and gold holdings, and also to set up another transactional system for those who don't want to go into a CDBC when it becomes a reality. Some are saying it's going to happen this year. Some are even saying it's going to happen in about a month or two, that the CDBC will be released. Not that everyone will be forced on it. It'll be released as an option, just like we did with silver and gold right now. Just an option right now. It's not, a big deal, basically for the average person yet because they don't know it exists. State legislation is often forgotten, and accomplishments and things done by states only make it into the national media when it's a really big deal. Well, Missouri's gold and silver was a really good deal, and we've already had national coverage on this. Newsweek, USA Today, I believe Fox News is going to be doing something on it as well. So hooray for Missouri, and thank you to everyone who partook in this by calling and emailing their representatives and senators, because actually it's the grassroots that got this done. There was no corporate money behind this. The Missouri Freedom Initiative does not take donations. We have no ties to any specific corporation at all. No one can influence us. And we work freely with silver and gold concerns throughout the country, the Missouri Freedom Initiative, to help out other states. And it's just like a large family community of people that literally understand what liberty and freedom really truly means, especially in financial transactions. And that's handled through gold and silver.
Yeah, I think it was funny. I forget. I think it was either the Star. It was Kansas City Star. I believe the article I was reading it through, and it was essentially calling you guys like right-wing ideology, like far-right ideology.
I got a great story for you. Kansas City Star said in that article that the Missouri Freedom Initiative was not, they had emailed the Missouri Freedom Initiative and had not heard back. I did not get an email. I did get a phone call. I was asked for a quote. And I literally said, if you print my name, I'll sue you. That's a long story because that goes back to when Planned Parenthood was closed down in Springfield, and I was involved in that. And they did run my name in the paper and the Kansas City Star, and then I started getting death threats. So I have history with the Kansas City Star. We don't get along. So at any rate, that was so. They called up. They asked for a quote. I said, if you print my name, I'll sue you. And they said, is that your quote? And I said, it is. And then I hung up. They did not mention that in the article.
No, they didn't. Naturally.
No, they forgot to mention that.
Yeah.
And by the way, Kansas City Star was so rude, in my opinion, unprofessional in the way they talked about Senator Eigel when he was running this bill in 2023 and 2024. They just used it as an excuse to go after him, saying he was crazy. He was a tinfoil hat wearing guy. Listen, gang, this going for silver and gold legal tender law is nothing new. We're technically the 11th state to do it. So it's not like we're breaking new territory. One thing I will tell you, though, is that the Associated Press was actually the etymology of that story that you saw in the Kansas City Star. And the negative press that we have received on our gold and silver bill is astounding. It's just huge. National negative press. And then also in-state negative press. That's the weird thing, Paul, because no other state that was actually running silver and gold legal tender legislation got any negative press. Only Missouri did. And the reason for it is because we had very bold, strong language in our legislation that many people told me in the beginning, it will never, ever get passed. Never. And here we are 3 years later. It's a law. And so now the silver and gold communities, around the world actually, are heralding this as the biggest success for sound money that sound money has ever seen before. And so, here we are. And once again, for those of you who don't remember, I'm just an IT technician. I'm a computer guy. I'm not a paid lobbyist. I've certainly never been trained in that regard. And I'm just a regular guy that went up to the Capitol, that cared about something, and worked with my organization, the Missouri Freedom Initiative, to actually make this change in the state of Missouri. And, but by the grace of God goeth us in the Missouri Freedom Initiative. All the help that came in, basically Citizens for Sound Money. I can't thank them enough. A big part of this. Economic War Room had a small part to play in this as well. And I'm grateful for them. JP Cortez, Sound Money Defense League was helping out. Nathan Lewis came out from New York to come and help us. Basically, the list goes on and on. Some big names were associated with helping us because they saw the importance of our bill. And so, just like I have helped other states, and I don't talk about that very publicly because it's not for credit. It's not for points. I don't do it for that. I do it to help the citizens of that state to actually have freedom. And that's what it's all about, Paul, is about true liberty and true freedom. That's what gold and silver represent, because they can't hyperinflate it like they can the dollars that they're forcing you to use currently.
Right. And that's that's what hits everyone the most, is their pocketbooks and how they spend their money and how they use it. So I think that's like an important part. And I still want to talk about gold and silver. But when you talk about like freedom and stuff like that, it does pose a question to me, just real quick. If you want to hit this in just a couple minutes, we can. Because I have like a two-part question, but the first one would be like if Missouri, like we want to be the freest state, right? But then I'm not saying that I agreed with Amendment Prop A, I believe it was, right? Or wherever the paid sick leave. I'm not saying that I necessarily agreed with that. Last time you and I talked was right before elections, and you're like, you just kind of gave your opinion on how to vote, and I kind of leaned that way. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't for that. But the people of Missouri spoke, and whether or not that was based upon how the language was for the amendment or the proposition, you know what I'm saying, and they didn't necessarily understand it. Either way, the people of Missouri voted. You know what I'm saying? And when you talk about freedom, I think it's crazy that after the will of the people have been heard, you have the House and the Senate in Missouri both, get something on the governor's desk to sign into law against what the people wanted. So what would you say to that as a Missouri Freedom Initiative representative?
Okay. The legislature doesn't always do what the people want, and that's a very serious problem in the state of Missouri. SB 727 was a big one we were dealing with last year, and that was a quote-unquote school choice bill. And so the people of Missouri weighed in quite heavily on this, that they did not want that bill. And for a lot of reasons. And we don't have enough time to cover the reason, but it went through by the skin of its teeth. The pressure was huge to shut that bill down, and they got it through anyway. So this is what you have to remember. There are people that literally will not do what their constituents are asking them to do. By people, I'm talking about politicians up in Jeff City, by the way. They won't do what their constituents ask them to do. You have to vote them out. Period. End of story. The people have to come together. There has to be a strong candidate to run against them, and there's mechanisms to shut people down that are running against establishment folks. And so that's why the grassroots have to come together, and you have to get a strong candidate to run against these people that vote against their constituents.
So I'm just curious, don't you think the governor would have essentially thought he was committing political suicide by signing against that?
Nope. The governor probably doesn't even know what the people wanted. The governor is very isolated and shielded from the constituents, and this is true in most states. So the governor doesn't really know what the people want. And this is really strange to say. And once again, maybe another broadcast, we'll talk about that and what we have seen from the Missouri Freedom Initiative point of view when we try to get the governor's attention. And it literally bounces around, this force field that is placed around the governor in the form of handlers. And it just never reaches the governor. And that's true with voicemails, and that's true with emails as well. Now, I'm not sure if that's true with Mike Kehoe yet, but that was certainly true of Parson. In fact, we in the Missouri Freedom Initiative think that the governor, when Parson was governor, he wasn't hearing anything from the people at all, nothing. And he shielded himself from the people. And the governors, it's not like there's an apparatus when a governor gets elected, they go into the shield. They set up the shield. So they know that they're shielded from this information. But that way they can claim ignorance on these issues. So I think it's really, really important at this point in time for people to realize that when you see a legislature and a governor do something against the will and the benefit of the people, that's where you hold them accountable, is literally during elections. That's what you have to do. And if you don't do it, no one will. So someone's got to stand up and run in that district against that representative or that senator that voted against their constituents. And they have to remind everyone on the campaign trail, they are not listening to you. Lincoln Huff in Springfield, Missouri, state senator, is not listening to his constituents. He doesn't care what his constituents think. You need a strong candidate to run against him, and they have to campaign reminding people, basically Huff is not listening. But Huff is really not a problem anymore because he's terming out in 2 years. I believe that's right. Next year, he's not running again.
But you don't think Kehoe knew that Prop A was like something that the people wanted? And I'm not saying that I wanted it, but you don't think that like he actually knew that like over half of Missouri voted for that, or your voter base?
I honestly don't know, and now I really truly don't know when it comes to Kehoe. I just don't know yet, and that's because this year I barely made it to the Capitol.
Sure.
So I literally lack the insight to let you know the apparatus Kehoe has versus what Parson had.
Okay.
For shielding himself from the constituents. In fact, it's really important I say this now. I don't have a clue whether or not Kehoe is shielding himself like Parson did. I don't know, but Parson did. Parson didn't want to talk to constituents. He didn't want anything from the constituents to reach him. And so, he shielded himself very, very well. And so I don't know about the governor, but you brought up a good point. It starts with your representative and your senator. If they voted against the will of the constituents in their district, that means they got paid to go against their constituents. There was money in it for them. So I would assume if Governor Kehoe does not have this inextricable, force field around him, preventing citizens from communicating with the governor's office, then I suspect that he was paid to actually sign on it. So that's my guess.
Right. Fair enough.
It's just a guess.
Yeah. For sure. So, okay, that answers that question because I mean, there's just so much again in Missouri. You got the new, just like the DMV stuff that's going on, the new sales tax for cars, all that stuff is just it's crazy. Not that that's even, I mean, it's semi important, but so let's okay. So a year from now, within this year, we're going to be able to use again in August 28th, gold and silver is legal tender. So when you say that. Sorry, Pat. We probably got about 8 minutes. I just got the notification on there, so I'm trying to get all the good stuff in.
Yep.
Is it going to be like how does it work? Like, do you have like a gold and silver wallet? Like, how would you go to the store and use the gold and silver electronically?
Okay. Are you familiar with using a debit card or a credit card?
Yes.
Okay. You can do the same thing with gold and silver.
So it'll be a card specifically through your bank or a credit union or...
Yep. Well, actually, I don't know of any commercial banks that are going to partake in this program yet, but there's bullion banks that you can set up accounts with right now and get a debit card from them and start spending your gold and silver. Kinesis is one of them. UPMA is another one. And Glint is yet another one. And they're all here in the United States. So basically, that's what the workshops are going to be about. That's what we're covering. It's specifically what you asked, is to start showing people literally how to set up accounts with these places, how to fund them, their accounts, and even if they don't want the debit card, because I have an account, but I don't have a debit card. I'm using it for savings. That's, basically that's what I'm doing with it. But at any rate, yeah, if you know how to use a credit card or a debit card, you can use gold and silver. And we'll show everyone how to set up accounts on Saturday night at 7:30. This coming up Saturday night. Dennis from Kinesis will be doing the presentation for us. But that's just one way. Gold backs. I think I've showed you. I wish I had a gold back down here, but I don't. Son of a gun. Looks kind of like cash, but it's made out of gold. It's gold foil. Fantastic stuff. And a lot of retail businesses in Wyoming are conducting business in gold backs. And they come in many denominations, a 1/1000th of an ounce, even 0.5 thousandths of an ounce. So you have a gold back that's worth the equivalent of about $3.33 and one that's like $6.90. And then they have a neat little app you have on your phone that will actually do the conversions for you. So if a business is taking gold backs, this is actually a really simple thing to do. You can have an app on a register, or you can have it on a phone. And if you're taking gold backs, basically as part of payment, you just put it in the register, you put it in, it's gold back, which denomination. And it actually converts everything, to and from dollars and gold backs for you. So yet that's another way to transact in gold and silver. And yet another way is coins. And once again, I will be holding the workshop on that one, and that's probably 2 weeks from now. And so I'll be in this workshop, I'll be showing people how to do the digital weight and also checking the purity of the gold and silver and what equipment you need to do it.
So where can people find you for those workshops?
You bet. Just look for Missouri Freedom Initiative on YouTube, on Rumble, or Twitter, or Odyssey. We're on all 4 of those platforms.
I don't know how you guys aren't blowing up right now. You got to have like a lot more people tuning in now. I don't know.
Well, we're heavily suppressed on YouTube.
Yeah,
we have enormous views on YouTube, but YouTube takes away about 90% of our views. And also, too, we're constantly. I play a song at the beginning of every single live stream, and so YouTube use, and we're not monetized, folks, on any of our platforms. None of them. Oh, by the way, we also are now on TikTok. We have an account on TikTok, and that's run by Caleb Walker. That's one of our members. So I've never even been there. I've never been there, but so far we've got, like 90,000 views or something like that on a simple video he put on there from passing it in the house, passing the gold and silver bill. So we're going to start putting stuff on TikTok as well. And then also, just so everyone knows, a lot more delegations going to happen within the initiative because I just can't do it all. I just can't. And I've taken on the brunt of the work for years, from the initiative, but a lot more initiative folks are helping out, and that is a good thing. And so we can get more done. and then my life circumstances changed, quite a bit in the last 6 months. So I can't give the amount of time. Like, for instance, before this year, I used to give about 50 hours a week to the initiative. And keep in mind, folks, there's no payment. And we don't look for payment. There's no donations, there's no corporate backing or anything. This is literally people who care, truly care about their state and what's happening to it, because they are donating their time and their own money for their expenses having to do with going to the Capitol or anything else they do on behalf of the initiative. And and things are changing, very quickly because of this bill. And we'll have announcements in the months ahead, basically. And, in the next podcast we do together, I should tell you about what our next project may be, because it's going to blow your mind.
Yeah, I want to
absolutely blow your mind.
I definitely wanted to get to that. So I'll probably reach out to you when you have time to talk a little bit about that.
Yep. It'll just say that the Missouri Freedom Initiative is about to take on the absolute impossible. And that is to eliminate. Any guesses?
Personal property tax?
Property tax.
Yeah, I'm all for it. I'm all for that.
Yep.
Yes.
And so we have a plan. So we have a plan for an SJR, a Senate Joint Resolution, to actually get this done. And I'll be very excited to come back on and talk to you about it, so we can get some more support for it here in the state of Missouri. We have a viable plan to shift it off to other taxation, so we can get rid of property tax in the state of Missouri. We'd be the very first state in the country to do it if we got it done.
That would be badass. All right, and next time I'll make sure I upgrade to. I did this really fast to get Zoom and get you on. I'll upgrade to the Pro. That way we're not limited to 40 minutes. There's not enough time whenever you and I chat. So because we're
Yes.
less than a minute right now. So I appreciate you as always, Pat. Sorry for the briefness, man. I wish I could talk to you a little bit more.
Hey, it was a pleasure being on. Just good seeing you again, man. And
you too, brother.
Thank you very much for having me back.
My heart's out with you, brother. I'll be thinking about you, praying for you, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it, man.
Alrighty, Pat. We'll see you later, man.
God bless you.
You too, sir.